We could probably. Awesome, thank you. So yeah, like I was kind of mentioning before, Nicole hopped on. Apologies for the very late posting of what this morning's weekly sync will entail. On our checklist, it says week 0, and so I totally wasn't looking at that one. I was looking at week 1. So it's my bad. I missed that. But hopefully you've been able to have a read through that. So yeah, I believe this morning, unless anyone has any questions first, we can hop into demos. Nicole, I think, do you want to lead that?
Yeah, I mean, read that part. Sure. Have you guys done demos before? Like, have you ever demoed your own product and like talked about it? Okay. They give me a thing to read about it. What it doesn't say that I wish it did say, is that it feels stupid. Or at least I felt like, no, it does. I was like, why am I saying all this stuff out loud? Of course I know this stuff. Of course the people I'm talking to know this stuff. And what I forgot, because like right after I went to go apply, and I wasn't looking for like purely technical jobs, even though I am a developer. I was looking for like people person technical jobs, so, like developer advocate, or like, you know, like some of those gateway jobs too. And they're like, oh, give me like 6 videos of you talking about a technical product. And then you don't have it. And you're like, oh, let me send you my Collab Lab stuff where I was scared and didn't say yes to demoing. I was super embarrassed. So that's what this is supposed to be about. Sorry, I'm looking for the. Yeah, so pair 1 will walk through demo. You will show us the feature in production, do a quick walkthrough of the code that builds the feature in your editor. It allows people to first visualize what you built and then help the team get your bearings around what the code looks like inside the actual project. Because you're absolutely, ideally, like if we do this right, if you choose your issues right, every week you're going to switch, and you'll notice that like one is usually a continuation of the other ones. Like week 1 will have a continuation in week 2. What you want to do is switch it up so you're equally working on both sort of streams of issues, so that when you go to use this in like an actual work interview, you'll have like a complete understanding of the project, rather than like, oh, I was the person who really worked on the Firebase side, and I don't totally understand this like UI stuff, because I definitely didn't do that. Yeah, and then once you're done demoing, we will talk about your code. We'll open the floor for questions from the entire team, and then pair 2 will do the exact same thing. Feel free to ask each other questions that either further your understanding or that show off your other teammates' work. So that's the thing that I like to do personally. Would somebody like to start? 15 minutes to start. I see you like shit. It's like, do not choose me. Do not choose me. Cool. I say, you want a demo?
Yeah, I can start.
Okay. Oh wait, hang on. Are we recording this?
Yeah, we started.
Cool, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So you said start with just demo or walk through the code first, right? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
You can.
All right. So I'll just share my screen then. Oh, Shannon, I think you have to enable screen sharing.
Yeah. Remember this happened the other time we were together, Isaiah? Where did it go? Breakout room. I'm listening, Nicole.
If it's tricky, another option is always to use Slack. We have a version of Slack available to Collab Lab that lets us do all the video sharing in the world. I think the Zoom use actually is a relic from before Slack upgrading some of their stuff.
Yeah.
It does the exact same thing.
You still can't share, Isaiah? Did it change?
Yeah, it doesn't let me share, so.
Hold on.
Shannon, why don't you drive and Isaiah, you talk?
Yeah.
Okay, that works.
And then,
let's see.
and to clarify, you don't need to start with the code and then go, like, there's no rule as to how you do it. I
Okay.
always show what I did first because I'm like, I'm a storyteller. Let me articulate this to you. Like, I'm like, it's a story. Not that it's particularly articulate.
Isaiah, do you want me to start with our code open?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay.
Sorry, just real quick. I did just notice something kind of embarrassing. Is Patty not on the call?
She's
Do we
not. She's not
we
here.
should- is that planned?
I don't know.
Do we ping
No
her?
messages, yeah.
Okay. I can send a message in Slack. Sorry, I should have noticed that before.
I sent a message at 8:04.
Oh, you did? Okay. Okay. Well, we'll just continue and then we can catch up. All right. Sorry about that.
Ready when you are, Isaiah. I'm here to help. Let's go, partner.
Okay, so I say let's start by like running the code and we can show them what we got and then we can show them how we got there.
You want me to NPM start from here?
That'd be good. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so first we can just start with this. This is what we had when we first started looking at it. This is just the home page. In order to get to our page, since the links still had not been done on the other problem, we had to navigate to the page through the URL, writing /list. So as you can see here, this is the list page. This is where it's going to show the list of the items on the shopping list. And originally when we started, this was not rendering anything. Oh, Patty's here. So here we had a blank page, nothing on it. And now, as you can see, we were able to successfully render the items from the list. Yeah, and now we can go to the code and we can show you a little bit of how we did that. Okay. So if you don't mind just pulling up also list item,
Yeah.
Shannon, and just keeping that next to it as well, just so we have it ready.
Where did our
Oh, that's in the components.
is it up top? Yeah.
It's in components, yeah. And then list item, perfect. Yeah, that one too. Awesome. All right, so the main files that we had to deal with were list.jsx and then list item.jsx. So list was under the views section of our project. And basically, as it says from views, it's because it's part of the front and what the user is going to see. So originally we had this bit of code already written for us, but under the UL section, there wasn't anything, I believe, right, Shannon? There wasn't anything from the start.
We needed to add that. Yeah.
So we had to figure out how we can render the items. So first thing we had to do was to analyze the code, and we went and we looked, okay, where is, what are we rendering from? So we knew that we were importing list item from components. So we took a look at the list item file, and we saw that this was a React function that was rendering the data, and this was specifically rendering the name. Okay. And this was just this code right here is just a way to format the name to the list and to give it the class of list item. And then if you go back to list.jsx, so basically our goal was to take all that data and to essentially show it all, and also to be flexible in terms of how much data, because whether there was 3 list items or there was 10, we wanted to make sure all of them were rendered. So the way we did that was to use data.map, which would allow us to map over the essentially array of items. The reason we knew that it was an array of items is we took a look at the actual data. So before we were able to actually get the data to load, we went to the API section of the code and we had the config file, and we saw that this was empty. So we ended up going to Firebase, going to the settings, getting all our information that we needed, and then we plugged that into the firebase.config section, the const firebase config. That was empty. We plugged that in, then once we did that, the data was able to load. We also were just able to look on the Firebase website, and you can just see the data and you can see how it's all arranged. So if you can go back to list item, I'm sorry, list.jsx, my apologies.
No problem.
Yeah, so once we figured out that we had an array and each array had an array of items and they all had different properties, we were able to see that there was the name property and then there was the ID. So we created a map over that data, the data which we're also importing from the different files. And then we also we mapped the name, and then we also mapped the ID, which we originally did not put in there. But thankfully from a comment by the other team, we were reminded that the list item did need the key property. So we put that in there as well. And that was able to satisfy that error. And yeah, and then we were able to successfully render it. And yeah, Shannon, is there anything else that I missed that you'd like to add?
I think you covered it. I was trying to read the list of like how we should do this, but it sounds pretty good. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
No, I thought that was perfect. Yeah, I thought it was really good how you went and looked at the data that was being returned, so you knew which properties were available, what type of data, coming in as an array. You knew there's going to be an ID and a name, so that's really helpful. So like what's available for you to work with, because that's so much of front end is just a lot of times we're just getting the data from the back end, and then we need to know what to do with it based on that data. So, yeah, no, great job.
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
Good job, Isaiah. Yeah.
Thank
And
you
yeah,
guys.
great catch by the other team too, catching the key.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
That was big.
I also thought it was really cool watching you guys work through your issue at office hours. I love that you were like, this isn't working. Let's show up and figure it out. And I liked that you both like didn't wait for somebody to tell you the answer, but like actually figured it out yourself, which is why we're here.
It was super helpful to have that option to come to office hours. We were like, dude, we really need to go. It's office hours.
No, it was good. Plus, we're all sitting there anyway. It's like, please come
No,
say
it
hi
was
to
awesome.
us.
I learned a lot, so thank you.
I learned a lot this week too, so I was actually grateful to have the issues we had. But yeah, thanks.
Lydia and Patty, do you guys want to? Actually, I don't know if you can share your screen. You want to try?
How can I fix this? This is so silly. Participants.
In the meantime, do you want to figure out who's demoing, if you're going to have one driver?
Let me. I'm gonna try to.
Sure, yeah. My screen sharing is disabled for me.
I'm gonna
It says
try
host
to
disabled
fix
screen
that
sharing.
from a different part of the settings. Let's see. Nobody has any idea how to change this, do they?
No, but I can Google it while you're looking.
Yeah, let's see.
Screen sharing won't enable.
Screen share. Here we go.
I'm actually sick, so I'm wondering, Lydia, if you are okay talking more.
Yeah, sure. I'm fine with that.
Thank you. I have the code up, so I could share my screen. I'm trying to see where the list. I heard someone saying the list for demoing to make sure you like did it all on Shannon and Isaiah's team. Is that just in this message from Matthew in the Slack channel?
Yeah, I think so. That's the exact information.
Wow, why is this so difficult? You think the button would be like right in front of your face. I'm at settings.
Settings, it's not under meeting tab.
Yeah, let me see. General team apps. I don't see. back to meeting. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so sorry.
I think all of our code is just one file. So I'm happy to just, let's see if I can get a screenshot.
Should I end
Yeah.
the call and set it up properly from the beginning? I know that I can add the screen sharing from the beginning. But oh, what is this? Support Zoom. What is this link that Matthew posted?
You may be reading through it already. I would say worst case scenario, because my only concern if we end the call is that we'll lose the recording and then we'll have to upload it in
All
split parts.
Account management meetings tab. All right, hold on.
I would say worst case scenario. I know it's not ideal, but maybe Shannon, if you wanted to display the code as
Yeah,
well,
that would work.
Yeah, that's true. That could work.
Settings.
do one time. One time.
Yeah, I don't even see the meetings tab. Do you want me to? I'll share, guys, just for the sake of time. Like Patty doesn't feel good and stuff. All right, bear with me being the driver, Patty. Let me move all this stuff out of the way.
We'll
No
work out.
worries.
Yeah, we can do this. We can totally do this. All right. I'm gonna share my screen. All right, and then Lydia and Patty, just like navigate me to wherever you want me to whatever you want me to show. Here is.
It looks like you may be on your branch. Do you need to navigate?
All right, let's get out. What did you guys name your branch?
It's add nav links to layout with dashes. I
Add.
can paste it. Nav links. There it is.
That's it.
Yeah.
To layout. I
Okay.
pasted it in the chat.
Do you want me to NPM? Can you see my screen, Patty?
I can see it.
Okay, so I've navigated onto your branch.
And then go to layout.jsx.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah. So our issue was to replace placeholder links with nav links, which come from the React router, like default components provided by React router. And so we put them in here. The way that they work is that the nav link allows each page where it appears to render the correct links that link to the right places, so that we don't have to activate and deactivate links for different pages manually. And so what we did, put in the nav link, declare the or set the class name to the same class name as the original links, and add a to property, which defines where the link connects to. It's the route of the page. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Each one has its text the same way as any normal HTML. And that's, I don't know what else to say about it. It's pretty straightforward. It's good stuff. So if we actually load up the site, you can click on the link at the bottom and it'll take you to the new pages. It'll take you to the page that you request. Which, if this is still the original one, oh, it did it, yeah. There it goes. Thank you.
Are there any questions about this? I mean, it's still the initial kind of setup. So there's a lot of time and flexibility. I thought this was really good. I think you handled the issue as well. I'm excited to see where you go with some of the choices that you made. Cool. We have a learning demo, Matt. That's you on code review, I think.
Yeah.
Hey.
Let's see. Realizing I can't
I
share
know.
my screen.
I know, dude. I know.
No worries. I can send you the slide. Sorry,
Great.
Shannon. We're like really
Totally fine. I'm happy to do it. I'm sorry I didn't set it up right in the beginning.
No, it's fine. I thought Mike's link would work as
All
well.
right, wait, let me share. Hold
With
on.
those slides.
Okay.
And then yeah, no, I was just gonna say, yeah, good job, Lydia. It is some of these early ones, like there really isn't a whole lot to show. So
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier too. Like sometimes it's like, oh, I don't really know what to say about this. But if you
yeah,
were non-technical, that's a huge thing, right? That you just did.
yeah, for sure. Cool. Okay, I can get going with this. Let's see. So, yeah, this learning module, I think it's called, is about code reviews, and so you obviously now have a little bit of familiarity, however you say that word, with code reviews. And so in this slideshow, we're gonna go through a few different things. What is a code review? The code review cycle, what makes a code review a great code review, how can I help others review my code, how can I review others' code, and then exploring the code in GitHub. And so, yeah, that's what we'll cover in this presentation. If you want to go to the next slide. So first, a code review, it's a conversation about a set of changes. And I feel like this first one is, at least for me, and so a lot of this is coming just from my own kind of perspective, and there's definitely a lot of different takes on code reviews. But at least for me, like that's the key part of a code review. It really is a conversation. It's not so much like you put something up and that's done. It's an opportunity to kind of show what you've done, and then other people can give you feedback and you can iterate on that. And so that'll be shown in kind of the next slide. But yeah, that's the biggest thing for me is biggest opportunity is conversation about the code. It's one of the best spaces to share knowledge and learn from others. It's a collaboration where you share your work, ask questions. It helps you improve as a developer, and it helps your team centralize knowledge, share responsibility, improve code base quality. I know that I learned a ton from code reviews, just seeing what the code is in general, and then also when other people have comments or feedbacks on both mine and other people on my team's code. I learned a ton. I'm like constantly just absorbing everything, that all the feedback that's being thrown around. So it's a great place to learn. Next slide. Yeah, so there is the cycle that I mentioned. So you've done this already. So first you open the pull request. And so generally at that stage, as far as you are concerned, it's development ready. It's ready to go to production. Obviously, you're going into that being aware that there could be things you missed, there could be things that could be better. But if it went into production today, you're comfortable that it's not going to break anything. And so that's the first step, is that you open the pull request, you're going to get feedback on it, and then you're going to make changes, and then you're going to get feedback and make changes. So that middle part can be a big loop. It could be a very quick loop. Sometimes you won't get any feedback. You'll just get a bunch of thumbs up, which is awesome. And then at the very end of that, once everyone who is in the review team or whatever thinks it's good to go, then you merge it in, and then you hope everyone was correct, and there'll be no issues, and it's live, and it's great, and you move on to the next ticket. And so that's the cycle. Thank you. So what makes a code review a great code review? The first note here is not to focus on stylistic changes. Sometimes semantic changes is the word you hear. There's a lot of tools that you probably already have in VS Code or whatever IDE you're using, such as Prettier, ESLint, type checkers. So examples of that are, semicolons, extra spaces, tab spaces, the whole war. I don't know if anyone ever watched Silicon Valley, but there's a whole episode about tabs versus spaces. And so that's something that I think today most people have some type of auto formatter set up. So generally it would have been caught already. If not, a lot of times it'll be caught as it's going through its build cycle. Makes a code review a great code review. Try out the feature locally in a test environment. So I'm trying to, some of this seems for yourself when you write the review, some of it's for the reviewer. But definitely I'd say on both ends. So when you're putting up the pull request, you definitely want to walk through it, making sure that you're looking out for anything, any edge cases. And then when you're reviewing it, if you have the time to check it out to your own local machine, or I think I saw that there's something on GitHub where you can preview it live, which is awesome. I haven't seen that before. So any type of testing that you can do helps you catch something that maybe you don't just see in the code itself. And I try to do that as much as possible due to like bandwidth. Sometimes I can't do that with every single pull request that I'm reviewing at my job. But definitely the bigger ones, the bigger features I focus on for sure. And so that's very helpful if you're able to do that for the other person. We understand this code a month from now. I think what that's hitting on is if you just walk up to that pull request with zero context, how much sense does it make to you? Like, do you need to be in the whole flow of the project to understand it, or just by itself in kind of a black box, can you understand it? And so that's something that you're trying to do. And you could do that through comments in the code, comments on the pull request, just the way the code is written. If it's I don't know, more legible, self-documenting is a word you might use here for code. So yeah, and then the next one, praise. If there's, I mean, definitely, if it all looks good, praise. I mean, sometimes you don't have any any, not criticism, but like constructive feedback. You're just like, this looks amazing, thank you. But yeah, that definitely helps. It's really easy to nitpick code. Sometimes for some reason it's harder to celebrate the code. So yeah, that goes a long way. I always appreciate when I get a nice comment, because unfortunately it's not as often, and so it's nice to hear. Default to approval is a good habit, unless you see something that will legit break the app. It's okay to default to approval, so you can add the things that you think would make the code better, but then you can still approve it. So long as you're not seeing something that will mess it up if it goes into the main code base, then it's okay to default to approval. Kind and empathetic, for sure. That's just in general. We're all doing our best. Code can be confusing. Some days are better than others. So yeah, just understanding it's just code at the end of the day. Then you help others understand your changes. We'll go through that in the next slide. Try to answer all questions.
Sorry.
You're fine.
You got the last few bullets. There you go.
And take your time. Yeah, that's hard sometimes when you got a lot of stuff flying around. But yeah, sometimes I'll like try to set time in the morning and time in the evening and like use those as my code review times. I'm not always the best with that. Sometimes it's just like when it pops up, I review it. I don't know which strategy is the best. But yeah, trying to dedicate a certain amount of time so you're not rushing through is really helpful for everybody. And yeah, next slide. Thanks. And then yeah, this was touched on in the previous slide. Trying out the feature locally in a test environment is a great idea. If you can, it's recommended. It gives you confidence that everything's working. It helps you find things that you wouldn't from just a skim of the code. We actually just had that at my job. Someone added a comment and the type of comment was only for one line, but the comment went to a second line. And so it went into production, and on top of every single product page, just my job's like at an e-commerce company, the comment was right there. So it wasn't great. We got it removed pretty quickly, but we didn't notice that from just the code. But we would have if we would have ran it. Yeah, resist the temptation to skip it. Just looks good to me. That's kind of part of taking your time. A PR can include instructions on how to run the code depending on your team. I do that for more complicated ones. Testing steps, I think we have that in our template at Collab Lab. Definitely helpful if it's not intuitive how to test it. So that's really nice to include. And then, yeah, if you're not sure how, ask questions. Great learning opportunity. If you're not sure how to test it. Yeah, next slide. And then, yeah, so this is from the person putting up the pull request. How can I help others review my code? A meaningful PR description definitely is very helpful. So that's in kind of the bulk of what you're trying to achieve, the actions you took to achieve that, any notes, any gotchas in there. Wherever possible, write meaningful commit messages. So that's in the commits yourself. In an ideal situation, your commits are kind of like telling the story of how you got to the end product. I do try to do this as much as possible. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way, and like you have this beautiful way that you're assembling it, and then you're like, ah, crap, that doesn't work, and you have to go and kind of start again or refactor. And sometimes it's not as linear as you would prefer, but definitely having meaningful commit message is very helpful to even tell that story. And so even though it could become a complicated story, it's still telling the story. So commit messages are very, yeah, if you try to be succinct, precise of what you're doing and why. Self-review your code, so explain why you did what you did. Yeah, I do that before I tag anyone. I go through it probably like twice, maybe more. If I see things in there that I can think, oh, someone might have a question about this, I might add a note explaining kind of why I did this particular thing. So definitely self-reviewing before you tag others is very helpful, and trying to think like, will this make sense to everyone? Is there anything in here that if I saw that, I would be like, wait, what's this? And try to get ahead of it is really helpful for other people. And so that's when commenting in your own files can be great. And then, yeah, ask questions, even if you're the one creating it. I definitely do that a lot. I'll see some code and be like, why is this here? Does anyone have any background? Because there's people who have been at my company a lot longer who may have developed it like 6 years ago. And so they can give me background of why something was done a certain way. And a lot of times the answer is, that was an old way, feel free to refactor or something like that. So you learn a lot that way too. And then, yeah, last one, use screen capturing tools. That's, I think I saw that was done with these first pull requests. So great job. That's very helpful for, screenshots, and then adding those video capturing files to your PRs really make it a lot easier for other people. Another one that's not included on here is just your basic Mac. I think it's Shift Command 5. You can do a screen capture or a video capture just with the Mac as well. But these other ones might have better features. But if you just need something basic, I use that a lot. Yeah, next slide. And then exploring the code in GitHub. Yeah, I guess you have to take the slides word for it, as I'm not sharing. But yeah, if you go through GitHub, you can definitely learn the way it's all set up. And so let's see what this is in. Looks like a branch.
Did it just change?
I went to the next slide. Yeah,
I'm so sorry. There you go, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, so like in the various branches, yeah, you can see the different commits. You can kind of cycle through them. You can see what's that one on the top right? Oh my God. I guess how many like ahead or behind you are from the main branch. You could look at the files changed, which is the main place you're probably gonna be looking. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so this is in the files changed. You can collapse, expands the different files. You can check them all as viewed, which is really helpful for yourself. So you can go, okay, I know that one's good, close it up, click viewed. Yeah, next slide. Okay, cool. And then, yeah, I guess at the end there, you will approve it. So yeah, so we can open it up to you all for this one. So, oh, sorry, if you want to go back real quick to the previous slide. Yeah, if you want to share your thoughts, I'll just open it up to the floor, but there's a few questions. What's been your experience in the past with code reviews? So I guess before Collab Lab, how did it feel to do code reviews this week? And how has it felt over the last week or in your previous experiences to have your code reviewed, which I know can be uncomfortable sometimes. So yeah, if anyone wants to respond to any of those questions, definitely feel free.
It was my first time having any experience with code reviews. So everything was helpful. For me, the first part was just trying to understand how to read the PRs for the other team, how to properly comment on GitHub, how to review the actual change. So it was all new to me, but it was interesting how helpful it was.
So
Yeah, I agree with Isaiah. I hadn't been a part of like of such like an actual code review. I've had like my code looked at and been like had feedback, but I liked seeing kind of like what like a professional pull request should look like, and using kind of like the pull request like interface in GitHub was new to me, and so like seeing that and commenting, I was like, if you do need to make a change, what do you do? So I was excited to see the other team do that. Yeah, I thought it was really cool, very helpful.
I haven't participated in reviewing somebody's code before like this. It was interesting. I feel like I didn't do the absolute best job I could have. Looking back, there was some stuff that I didn't see that they had changed until the demo. So I hadn't really reviewed that part of their code. And but I have had my code looked at by other people a little bit. It's a very different it feels very different to have somebody look at your code while you're in front of them and talking to them than it does to submit a pull request and then see what comes up, if anything, and you just don't know.
Something that I wish I knew about like reviewing other people's code when I started doing all this is that like sometimes you don't have something to say, or for me, like being a female in testing where you're constantly questioning yourself, I thought that what I had to say or contribute was silly or like irrelevant, or I felt bad because I was like, looks good, smiley face, but I didn't want to just leave that because that, but the reality is encouraging is a good thing. And like we do have things to add, even if it feels like it's not that important. And I also found that a thing that you're able to do that like I probably should have known you could do, but like I hadn't realized you can do is you can ask questions. Why did you do it this way? Like maybe they know better than you and they're about to teach you something. Or maybe you're about to like ask a question that triggers them to do it a different way. Because in this project, 4 or 5 issues down the line, we start getting into places where you can make 2 choices or 3 or 4 different choices, and they're all valid. You just want to know like why. I thought it was super formal. Like you had to do it right, or like not at all. So I wish somebody had told me that it's not like that and it can be learning.
Yeah, and I know on the receiving side, it's very easy to like get defensive about the code, or especially I know that question, like, why did you do it this way? Sometimes I hear that, I'm like, oh crap, like I did it wrong. Where a lot of times that's not, well, hopefully all the time, that's not what they're saying. They're actually interested about your thought process and why you chose a specific path. Not that it's wrong, it just may be different than what they would have done, but they're both just as good. So it's definitely like, it's kind of fun to get inside other people's like code brains and learn kind of, you know, how they approach things differently than you. And yeah, but I know I like tense up a lot of times, like, cause I feel it feels personal, but it's not, it's code. It's this, yeah, it's something I'm still learning.
It's also like, if you're in like a healthy coding environment, why did you do that is like such a healthy, like valid question. And I didn't think that before because I didn't understand there's a culture of like not being a dick and actually supporting each other. I don't know.
I had a question. So with all these, like you mentioned, like not so formal questions or just whatever, where is the best place to have it normally? Is it in the actual GitHub comments, or is it like, is there a time on Slack? Like maybe take that question to Slack. Like, how do you know when to post where?
I mean, you could do whatever you wanted, right? Slack is just direct messaging. You could post in their thread. You could have the conversation in comments. I like them in comments because for me, when I'm going back to talk about issues, it triggers stuff. So like I've done this issue twice or 3 times now with different groups and walk them through it, right? So I know that for the issues that we're doing this coming week, I've looked through the conversations we had. And I kind of like to see that because then I can kind of remember where people stumbled previous times. So like that's useful, especially if you're going to be using it for like showcasing our portfolio purposes. But, like Slack is just casual, and then other people can. I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, there's like no rule. Thank gosh, there's no rule. That would stress me out. Yeah. Okay. There's no rule.
Yeah, so Patty asked a question in the chat. Do code reviews typically have so much team participation, or is it usually one person reviews it? On my particular team, I think there's a minimum of 3 people that we tag. I'm sure other teams are different, but yeah, usually it's multiple people. I guess if you were just like working one-on-one with someone and they knew exactly what you were doing and it was small chains, maybe you could just get one. But so at least for my company personally, we tag at least 3 people. And usually that involves like more of a backend specialist, more of a front end specialist, more someone who maybe has been working in this particular feature for a while. So sometimes that impacts kind of who gets tagged in it to review. But I'm sure it varies.
At my company right now, and like in my current situation, I tag 1 person, but I'm in a team of 3, and like there's just not that many of us, and we're working exclusively on one small feature in like a larger piece of software.
Yeah, it's a good point. Your team size will definitely have a factor in that.
Well, right now I'm the only person there. Like somebody's on sabbatical and somebody just had a baby, so I tag somebody external to my department right now.
Awesome. Any other questions? I know we only got about 10 minutes left. Oh, Patty.
Well, we got to run through issues, assign issues, and also we get a merge. I just realized those PRs were not merged. So do you want me to merge them? Do you want Matt to merge them? Do you want to merge your own PRs? How you feeling?
I saw your comment, Patty. Yeah, you can definitely merge your own.
After they're approved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got that final mentor approval.
Okay. We're saying that like it's obvious, but I 100% merged before, and then had somebody contact me and be like, Nicole, a little awkward, but you requested my opinion and then merged it anyways.
Yeah, I'm thankful that at my job we are not even allowed. Like, there's not even the possibility. Like, we just can't. Like, we don't have it has to go through someone else. So that saves me sometimes.
Yeah, I didn't mean to. I don't know, man. Okay, so go ahead and merge your own, I guess. Or wants to do the teams. Teams this week are, let's see.
Shannon, you can stop presenting if you want to, and then I can. There's a few links at the very end of the slide. I could I'll post those in the Slack. I'll do it under the thread for this week's weekly sync, so you guys have access to that.
Okay, so we're on week 2. Yes. So teams this week are Patty and Isaiah, and then Lydia and Shannon. I will put up your pairing threads as soon as we get off this call. I'm sorry that it took a while. I had to write the automation for it or sell the automation for it last time. And then you can use that to both communicate with the issues, which I thought you did a great job of over this past week, because we don't want to bother Andrew with every new issue that comes up in our group. Our 2 issues are issue 3. As a user, I want to set up a new shopping list. Kind of important, so I can start tracking purchased items. And issue 4, if I can find it. As a user, I want to add a new item to my shopping list, so I can start recording purchases. So in the case of user issue 3, shopping list is a set of items associated with a specific 3-word token. These tokens are like randomly generated. It's already in the code base that you currently have. You don't need to write that. It's been done for you. We need to allow users to start new lists so they can save the things they need to buy fairly straightforward. If they start a new list, we need to do a few things. We need to generate a new unique token. Like I was saying, the process for doing that is already in the code, but you do need to generate it. You then need to store the token to local storage if you don't know how to use local storage, which I didn't when I started. This is great because you're going to use it a lot. And then you need to show the user the list view. So you need to render it somewhere. Up until this point, the app has rendered the items in the list associated with the token my test list. The test list, the actual tokens are like, I don't know, shoe, foot, ogre or something. And they'll be very random. Before we can allow users to make new lists, we have to stop showing them the test list. So the things you would need to do in order for this PR to be considered done and accepted, you have to add the shopping list utils to the dependence as a dependency. You would have to replace what's currently hard-coded in there. So my test list is hard-coded in there right now. Just replace it with null or get rid of it. So they don't automatically load the page already subscribed. And then you're going to need to see if they don't have a token. You need to take them from the list page to the home page. Wait. Yeah, so they can generate a new token. There needs to be a button. So you're gonna have to build a button or a link or whatever in the home component that's going to allow them to create a new list. Clicking on that button is going to make a new token using what's already in the code base. You're going to save it to local storage. You're going to use the set list token function in app.jsx, which, like I was saying again, that's already there for you in the utilities, I think. And then after it's made and it's been saved to the memory, we need you to go from the home page where they've generated. It needs to automatically redirect it to the link view, and if they or the list view, and then if they already have a token, just take them to the list page for that token. There are a few things that come up with this issue over and over again. Those things are stuff like, well, why can't I name my list? And the answer is, we'll talk about that week 7 and 8. And if that's a thing you want to do, we'll do it then. There are things like, why can't I have more than one list? Again, we'll talk about that week 7 and 8. So like this one, the problem that I see over and over again is scope creep, because you start to see like, oh damn, like I could do this, I could do that. Well, what if now I could see my list token and then I want to send it to Patty, because Patty and I are gonna have a shared list. We're gonna name that list IKEA, because now we're roommates and we're building it. You know what I mean? And you can start to see where it's gonna go. Don't do that. Like just do what it says. Get this down pat. Get the PR really nice and clean. Get that demo really nice and clean. And then let's go wild, because the last 2 weeks are all about adding in those new features, fixing up the things you don't like, and making it pretty. And then for the 4th issue, now we're talking about adding items two pre-existing shopping lists so that we can start remembering what we want to put. So we're gonna enter two things when we add an item, the name of the item, and an estimate of how we think it's gonna be until we buy the item again. There is like a README file in the shopping list sort of documentation. We give options of like soon, not so soon, and like what's the other one, Matt? Do you remember? Soon, not so soon, future. There's three, and one is like under 7 days. The other one's like 7 to 30, and then more than 30 days. So by the end of this process, we're actually gonna have 4 statuses, 4 items on the list, right? I'm gonna buy it in a week, I'm gonna buy it in the next month-ish, I'm gonna buy it after a month, or it's been so long it's depreciated. So we're starting to build all that into our list. So you're gonna do some stuff on the like visual side or the UI side. You need that item to display a form. It's a tiny little form that allows you to enter the name of the item and how soon you anticipate needing to buy it again. Oh, here we go. Soon, kind of soon, not soon. I should have read the issue. I'm just like going off of me doing this a few times. Cool. And then the input accepts the name of the item. Should have a label associated with it. Because we're talking about accessibility, and accessibility is a huge focus. And if you're building commercial products, especially if you're an e-com net, accessibility matters a lot for SEO right now. So you're going to want to think carefully about how you're doing this because there is a wrong way to do it. There's a way that somebody like me cannot access this list. I'm somebody who can't always see, and on occasion you'll see me using different types of mouses because I have a tremor. Yeah, so if I can't use both the mouse and the enter key, you've created a list that is useless to me. When the user submits form, they've got to see a message saying that the item was added or not added. That message needs to be a message and not an alert. And we'll talk about why we do messages and not alerts in terms of like user flow and accessibility when we are in the accessibility section. But just so you know, don't make it an alert. Because I'm gonna comment on your PR and say this is inaccessible. And that's a conversation for like 2 weeks from now. Yeah, this is also a cool one. And then on the data side, you need to show in the console log the add item function. Oh shoot, we're getting really late. Patty, do you need to go? You're usually the one who needs to go. Does anybody need to go? I will be fast.
I have to go soon.
I'm going. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. So console log that has been added, and then yeah, you're gonna use the soon, not so soon to calculate the next purchase date. That's pre-existing in everything that you have. Teams, when we say it, where I'm like going fast now because I'm stressed. Patty and Isaiah, and then Lydia and Shannon. Do you guys want to? Do you anyone have a preference for what you want?
Up to
I
you
think
guys.
3 sounds cool. So
3
I'm
is
kind of
cool.
excited about doing 3.
3 is pretty cool. Learning that local memory stuff, I didn't know it. I was like, oh hey, how many more things can I mess around? Very cool.
Yeah.
Let's
Cool.
crush
Alright.
this, Lydia. Let's crush
Yeah.
Sounds good. That leaves you, Patty and Isaiah, with issue 4. I will assign that to both of you on GitHub. Please merge your PRs, and I will have your threads up in the next 2 minutes. Office hours are at the same time this coming week. If you have any questions, you can ask there. You can ask on Slack. You can at least bother me, maybe not Maui. You can definitely bother me in my DMs because I'm sitting from my computer all day. Yeah. Is there anything missing? Does anyone need any questions that are open? Or are we just ready to go?
Anything
Alright.
else is Shannon, if you could just send me the video of this, I'll get it up on YouTube. Yeah, that's all I got. And then yeah, I'm just as free. I'm here pretty much 9 to 5, 8 to 6, whatever. Doing my normal work stuff. So happy to help whenever. You were not bugging me at all.
Yeah. Cool. All right. I will see you guys on Slack. Thank you for being here. I love this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks,
No
guys.
problem. It'll be up in the next 10 seconds. Take care.
Okay,
Bye.
cool.
Okay.